I'm Kelly Collins. I'm the town administrator for the town of Wakefield, New Hampshire. I've had this position since April 10th of 2017, and I've held various administrative positions in various towns for over 25 years in the state of New Hampshire. Due to large volume of inquiries the town has received regarding both taxpayers' most recent tax bills and the change in assessed values, the town's assessing clerk, Cindy Bickford, who has been with us 20 years, in that position, and the town's third-party licensed assessor, Rod Wood, and I are all going to be answering some frequently asked questions about tax rate, assessments, abatement process. I'm going to start with the tax rate. So the way that the tax rate works in New Hampshire is that you generally take the budgets, and in this case you take the town budget, the school budget, and the county budget, and you divide it by the assessed value. There's some other pieces that go into that. For example, revenues are minused out, exemptions, tax credits are minused out. But basically, the budgets that pass in March of each year and the assessed value as it exists on April 1st of each year, other than a reval year, create your tax rate. There's a few other numbers that go into it. There's an overlay number. There's, like I said, exemptions and tax credits. But generally speaking, the towns work with the state of New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration, who approves our MS forms. There's an MS1 for assessed value, an MS5 for budget, report of the budget, which is reviewed by our auditor, and then the MS4 for revenue. On April 1st of each year, the town reviews new buildings. Remodeling, decks, garages, sheds, brand new houses, and we also conduct a review of 20% of the town throughout the summer. That gives us the assessed value on our MS1 that goes to the Department of Revenue by September 1st of each year. The town also reviews and revises estimated revenues by September 1st of each year in preparation for setting the tax rate around the end of October. The first tax bill goes out around the beginning of June and is due around the beginning of July. So we don't have a set date. The rule of thumb is that the tax bill is due 30 days from the time it goes out. So whenever we have the documents ready, we try to get it as close to June 1st, so it's due as close to July 1st as possible, but there is July 4th holiday, there's some other things in there. The first issue tax bill is half of last year's actual taxes. So if your tax bill in 2017 was $2,000, then the bill that you got in June of 2018 would have been $1,000. It's half of the $2,000 bill. Unfortunately, the way it works in New Hampshire, if there's any increase in those budgets and thus an increase in the tax rate, that entire increase happens in the second issue tax bill. So, for example, if your tax bill was $2,000 in 2017, you paid half of that in June of 18. If it goes up to $3,000 in 2018, the whole increase winds up in your second issue bill. So you've only paid $1,000, so you'll owe $2,000 in December. I say unfortunately because that's the way it works in New Hampshire. It's a month before Christmas. It's the end of the year. We all understand that. None of us sitting at this table made that decision. That isn't our choice. That is legislated. And if you don't like it, I suggest you speak to your legislature about timing and property taxes. So two things happened in 2018. The town and the local education budgets increased, and there was a town-wide assessment update for all property. Based on 2017's assessed value, our tax rate would have gone from $12.65, which it was in 2017, to $13.28 without a reassessment. So that would have been a 4.98% increase. And the Department of Revenue Administration gives me that number on our tax rate setting documentation. So stated another way, if your property was assessed at $150,000 in 2017, at 2017's tax rate of $1,265, your taxes were $1,898. If your house had stayed at $150,000 in 2018 with the tax rate at $1,328, your bill in 2018 would have been $1,992. So that would have been an increase of $94 or 4.96%. If that same $150,000 assessment went up to $200,000, which would be a 33.34% increase in the assessment, which did happen. We had some houses increase as much as 40%, 44%. It just depended on your neighborhood. And when I say neighborhood, I mean each lake came back at a different rate. And Mr. Wood is going to speak to specifics about the assessment values. But that increase in 2018 at the new rate of $11.26, your bill would be $22.52, which is a $354 increase or 18.66%. I did also look at the tax rates in our vicinity, and you can see I've prepared those. Wakefield is at the top and highlighted. Brookfield, Milton, Ossipee, and Wolfboro have set their tax rates. Farmington and Middleton had not yet set theirs yet. I checked the DRA's website yesterday. They are all available on the Department of Revenue's website if anybody would like to take a look at them. I'm not saying that that should make a difference to you, but I think that the town does a pretty good job of budgeting what they need and only raising the taxes for what they need. And in addition, I also did a pie chart on your taxes. So that $11.26 breaks down as 10% county, 27% town, 18% state education, and 45% local education. So 63% of your bill goes towards education and is affected by that school budget that you pass in March. 10% is the county, also a budget you get to vote on, and then 27% is the town. Even if you did away with all the town services, police department, fire department, highway department, town hall, registering your car, your bill would only go down 27%. So we are a part of the overall tax rate, but we are by no means the majority of that tax rate. So those are just some basic facts that I have for you. I'm going to turn it over now to Cindy Bickford, who has been our assessing clerk for 20 years. 20 years. She also lives in the town, so she's very conversant with the neighborhoods, and she's a licensed lister and measurer herself, and she's worked closely with Mr. Wood for years. And she's going to go over some pieces about exemptions and tax credits and assess very generic assessing questions.
So I'd like to start just by introducing what the office actually does yearly. So pickup work is done annually, which is the measuring, listing, and valuation of newly or newly modified properties as a result of the issuance of building permits. Kelly had touched on this a little bit. The town currently measures and lists 20% of the total taxable property within the town each year, and this is done to verify data accuracy. The only changes made during the 20% measure and list is on the physical data. This has no function to do with market value. This is only physical data on the property. We also go through a certification process once every 5 years, where the New Hampshire Department of Revenue conducts an assessment review, otherwise known as the certification process. The assessment review consists of the following. The New Hampshire Department of Revenue comes to the town and reviews the level of uniformity of assessments, the assessing practices, reviews all tax exemptions and tax credits, data accuracy, and the proportionality of the assessments. RSA 75-8A covers the 5-year valuation. The assessors and/or the selectmen shall reappraise all real estate within the municipality so that the assessments are at full and true value at least as often as every 5th year. This is state regulated. The Board of Assessors have also decided to renew values on the certification year. 2018 is a certification year, so you will not see another update until 2023. The new values on the second issue tax bill is based on fair market value. Those values that you are seeing on your current tax bill reflect market value as of April 1st, 2018. The State of New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration defines market value as follows. the price the property would command in an arm's length transaction between a willing buyer and a willing seller. The office does send out sales questionnaires to both the buyer and seller when we do receive a transaction. These are used to determine whether it was a true arm's length transaction. I'd like to also cover the exemptions, tax credits that the town currently offers. First of all, in order to qualify for the veteran tax credit or any exemption, the property must serve as your primary residence. The town of Wakefield offers the standard veteran tax credit, which is RSA 72:28, and the all veterans tax credit, RSA 72:28B. Both tax credits are $500 annually. If you're approved for these tax credits, it is divided into your two bills. You'll receive $250 off of your first bill and $250 off of your final tax bill. The town also offers the veteran tax credit for service-connected total disability, RSA 72:35. This tax credit is in the amount of $2,000. For any of the veteran tax credit, you must be a New Hampshire resident for 1 year preceding April 1st in the year in which the tax credit is claimed. This is noted right on the application form. The town also offers an elderly exemption. You must be a New Hampshire resident for 3 consecutive years preceding April 1st in the year the exemption is claimed. The applicant must be 65 years of age on or before April 1st of the year for which the exemption is claimed, and your income cannot exceed $20,000 if you're single, $30,000 if you're married. The income does include all income, including your Social Security. Your assets cannot exceed $150,000. This does exclude your primary residence in the land upon which it is located, up to the greater of 2 acres, or the minimum single-family residential lot size specified in the local zoning ordinance. Permanent applications for property tax credits or exemptions is due on April 15th. Please note the tax credits are off the bill. Exemptions are off of the assessed value. A tax deferral for elderly and disabled, RSA 72:38A. This is for the applicant at least 65 years old or eligible under Title II or Title 16 of the Federal Social Security Act for benefits for the disabled. The deferral is very similar to a reverse mortgage and works as a deferral for all or part of the taxes, plus interest at 5%. Please contact the office for additional information. Please note for a tax deferral, if you have a mortgage, the mortgage company must sign off and approve the tax deferral application. This application is due by March 1st. I would suggest if you have any questions or if you require any additional information, please contact the assessing office. I do work full-time, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, and the extension is 300 directly to the assessing office. And now I will turn it over to Rod Wood.
Hi, I'm Rod Wood. I've been in the assessing field for over 20 years and working in Wakefield as a contract assessor probably for 18 of those years. This year we did a townwide reevaluation update as required for the certification year. The purpose of the reevaluation is to bring the assessments to market value as of April 1st, 2018. To do this, we review all sales that occurred since in the past 2 years. So we went back to April 1st, 2016 and reviewed all the sales for arm's length transactions. And from those sales, we are able to extract the market trends to determine the base rates for homes and camps and park models and mobile homes, as well as the acreage prices for different neighborhoods throughout towns and the per linear waterfront prices. When we are determining these values, we only use sales that are within that neighborhood. For example, we would not use Great East Lake sales to determine market value assessments for Sandy Pond. After we determine these base rate trends, we input those into our camera system to update all market values assessments across the town. And then we did a field review to certify that the assessments that we were developing represented market value. We drove throughout the whole town, looked at every property to see if there are any unique circumstances with each property that needed to be adjusted. For example, is the home no longer in good condition, is it only average condition, or vice versa? After we did that, Cindy would update those changes into the CAMA system to give us our final market value. The final market value for the town increased by 21.7%. So overall, the average market value of the town went up 21.7%. That was the number that Kelly was referring to. That was the number that was sent to the state to set your tax rate. The number that you received on your tax bill, that is our opinion of market value as of April 1st, 2018. If you feel that that is not a market value for your property, then you should file an abatement with the town by March 1st of 2019, stating exactly why you feel that is not the market value of your property. You cannot simply just say that my taxes are too high. You need to give us a reason. Either our data is incorrect that we have for your property, or you have compared your home to other properties and saying to justify that your assessment is too high in comparison to those. If you do file an abatement, you can expect to receive a phone call from us that we will come out and take a look at your property to verify the data, and we really need to do that. We can't just go from what you say. We have to verify the information that's on your property record card. If you do not let us into your property, it will be very difficult for us to justify a change in your assessment. And also another thing is that there are a lot of properties in town that are posted. If they are posted, we do not go on to them to verify our data when we're doing our 20% that Cindy alluded to. If we just have to estimate it from the road. So if you have a posted property and you feel that your assessment is incorrect, you should give us a call, just set an appointment to come out and take a look at your property so we can verify that data. If we don't get onto the property, all we can do is estimate. And if we estimate, we're not going to estimate on the low side. We're going to have to estimate on the high side to be fair to the other property owners that do let us into town.
Not to get into the specifics of each assessment, because we can't do that here. There's obviously thousands of parcels of property, but another thing that changed besides the assessment for shorefront and land is the per square foot price. So we looked at the per square foot price, and it went from $70 to $110 per square foot. So that is another piece that was tracked from the sales data. It's not a number that, none of these numbers are numbers that we just make up or that we extrapolate. They come from actual documented sales. And so that number had not been reviewed for 5 years. And so in the case where your land value did not go up demonstrably and your assessed value did, part of the reason for that is you might have a very large house. I would guess that a 3,500 square foot house, obviously the difference from $70 per square foot to 110 makes a much bigger difference than a 1,000 square foot home. So there were, I guess I'd like to say to the people of Wakefield that I'm sorry that this is so confusing. It's not entirely our fault. A lot of this is legislated, and this is the way it works. But we had many things change, all affecting the tax rate and assessed values and your tax bill. And so it is a little confusing. We're happy to answer questions about that. But it isn't something we did actively to people. We're trying to be as fair and equitable to all the residents of town and make sure everybody just pays their fair share. And if you think there's a mathematical error, your square footage isn't right, it says there's more bathrooms than you have, whatever your issue is, I would strongly suggest that your first course of action is to pull your assessment card, which you can see, I believe, online. Cindy?
Not the true assessment card. I would suggest that they contact the office.
Okay, so contact the assessing office and get a copy of your assessment card and review it for accuracy, because we don't want to tax people unfairly. That is our main charge with what we do, is to tax people equitably. So we want to make sure that your assessment card is accurate. We want to make sure that, if you're in current use, your footage on your waterfront footage is correct. Anything on there, your acreage is correct. We can only change acreage, obviously, if you have a certified survey. But that's our job, is to make sure it's accurate. So let's make sure your assessment card is accurate. And then from there, if you qualify for the elderly exemptions, the veterans tax credit, a disabled or elderly deferral, we're happy to provide you with the paperwork. We're happy to kind of walk you through that. You do have to do it yourself and sign for it, because obviously you're stating that it's accurate. But again, there were many pieces, including an increase in budgets, and then the changes in the assessed value, both for land and for buildings, that affected this. Contrary to popular belief, not everybody's taxes went up. Some people's taxes did go down. Obviously, it was few and far between, and I'm sorry if you were not one of them. Again, if you have questions, Rod is a contracted assessor, but he does have office hours with us once a week, and Cindy once a month. And Cindy can set up appointments for him as needed. And obviously, if you file an abatement form, you will be getting an appointment. There's an appeal process from that as well, which we can explain to you if you're aggrieved by any decision that we make. And I think that's all I have. Did you want to add anything?
No, I think that's
also in Cindy's office is the Reevaluation Manual. That contains all the sales that were used to develop these new assessments, as well as the extractions to determine those base rates of the price per square foot for a home that went from the $70 per square foot up to the $110 per square foot, as well as for camps and double wide mobile homes, and other types of property in town. So that is all contained in the USPAT manual that Cindy has. Anybody can take a look at that, and it'll hopefully help explain how we came up with some of these values, that we didn't just pull them out of the air, that they actually were derived from the market.
The only other thing that I would add is we do not set market value. The real estate market sets the market value. So if you are a buyer out there and you feel that you are overpaying for a property or underpaying for a property, it's really important that you fill out the sales questionnaire and give us as much information on that transfer as possible. We have to qualify and disqualify each and every sale or transaction that happens in this town. The more information that we have available to us, would be a more educated decision-making process on either qualifying or disqualifying the true sale or transaction that takes place in town.
Thank you for your time today, and call the office if you have questions. Thanks.